black rather than gray black. There's black, and in the very center there'd be like orange, yellow smoke. And we're just like, God, that's only one fire, you know?
Yeah.
And we're kind of freaking out, you know? It was like a very scary thing.
It was amazing because it was a Sunday and I was watching football out in El Sobrante when it started to kick off. And then I came into Berkeley, at that time I did drive, and I came into Berkeley and went up to the Claremont Hotel and they were blocking people off. So me and a friend who grew up in Berkeley, I've been there since 1967, decided to go have a look-see. So we went over to the Montclair golf course. And we jumped, which we used to go take acid. We used to go and jump the fence and be in the mausoleum, right? Right, you know, as kids do in Berkeley, in the East Bay. So we're on the golf course, and we get so close that there's not even a fire crew. We're at the edge of the firestorm. And I knew that in the evening, the winds, it was a weird day because the winds were coming westward down from the Berkeley Hills. And
yeah.
There's this real hot convection feel to it. But I knew as soon as the sun went down, the winds would die. And so I knew, you know, here we were at sunset. I said, we only have about an hour or two to actually see what this fire's doing. And so we ran up the golf courses, basically, and we got right to the edge of the fire, and we saw houses just barely catch on fire, and then within 20 seconds be completely gone. Just exploding in heat. It was the most amazing thing, because you just see, wow, it's kind of staying away from you probably couldn't imagine the temperatures that were.
Oh, like 2,000, 3,000.
I mean, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Once it caught,
it's over and done in 20 seconds.
Yeah. It was just, and you can see the windows exploding, like the glass windows exploding outward. So you could sense that inside the house it was getting extremely warm, and then when it exploded, it just went amazing. And it wasn't fully gone, but the whole thing was on fire in 20 seconds. Amazing.
We drove home from the airport, and little did we know, we were told on the airplane that, you know, just go home. No one's on the road.
Yeah.
That's what they told us. And so, I mean, you know, this was like the late 80s, was it 89 or something, or when was that?
I don't know.
It was around that time, and literally no one was on the road. I mean, it's like a nuclear bomb hit, and, you know, there were so few drivers, especially for, we figured we'd have to go through the hills and kind of to get home, basically, and not take the freeway. We could take the freeway straight through. There was no traffic. It was the middle of the afternoon, you know. So there should have been tons of traffic, right? And maybe it was a Sunday or something. I don't remember what day it was, but there should have been some traffic, and it should have been kind of a problem as far as just going through the tunnel and all that. And then once we got, you know, you could see, we were approaching Oakland, you can see, you know, and you couldn't really see everything. It was like an extremely foggy day. I mean, it was dark. Like it was daytime.
No, I remember.
It was daytime, and then once we got just past the Coliseum, it slowly crept into nighttime. But that's just cloud cover. It's not really nighttime. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, we got up to I just remember looking at, oh God, the hills on the way to the tunnel, and the fire was on one side, the fire was on the other side, the fire was up on the hill, the smoke was coming from everywhere. You could see where, you know, the fire had been, and nobody was going faster than 45 miles an hour on Highway 24 eastbound towards the tunnel, and it's just like, you know, who knows what might jump on the road or something, or, you know, something falls off the hill, or, I mean, it was awful. And then going through the tunnel in the other side, and of course there was as much you know, burning on the other side as there was on the previous side. So it was really enormous. What the hell were we talking about?
Well, you know, we were just talking about Berkeley and local local politics. You know, the whole tree issue, we've come into the tree tribe, and so some of the next people are like, we have this strategic idea of like when we're in the trees, it's both strategic, but it's also a spiritual life base with the tree. Once we're in the trees, we hardly ever get caught in the trees. And we did a People's Park protest near the end of the last year, and the kids came down, they were coaxed out of the trees, and it was like, I had to tell the kids, once we're in the trees, it's very hard for the police department or anybody to get us. So the whole idea of like not having a banner and sitting out on the side of the road, fucking sucking fumes and people flipping you off, is that when you're in the tree, you're off the ground. There's a magical curiosity about a banner dropped from a tree, but there's also a spiritual one, and cops can't come up the tree after you. It's a live thing. You know, there's animals in the trees, and so we're the tree people, we're the tree tribe. And so the next tree said, you know, is getting these kids back into the trees where, you know, you see dumpster muffin up here, the amazing, you know, you see there's the metal people. They're the big metal cranes, they're technology.
One of the things that I was noticing, have we discussed the People's Park tree sit?
Well, I think we touched on it a little bit, but it wouldn't hurt to cover it again.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. We're gonna have to go look through our tapes and edit and see how much we've been repeating. But so that was overdone in like a couple of days, and to be honest, you know, they're just trying to get increased visibility in the park so that they can be perched up in that building on the west side of Telegraph with binoculars in their black windows so that nobody can watch them spy on people in People's Park. In case somebody's doing a drug deal or something, they've got a clearer line of sight. I mean, that's all that was. So those trees were healthy and...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also a constant... I grew up in this town where the People's Park was birthed, and it's kind of like the big bully pissing on the. It's kind of like the male dog pissing on the side of the tree to mark their territory. So Cal is constantly trying to mark their territory as they start to expand out. And with Mayor Bates giving them the downtown plan, the university, the People's Park issue has always been in their claw, has always been their inability to grab the entire city through People's Park / Telegraph. And the Telegraph Business Association has gone into a gentrification of Telegraph. When I ran for mayor, I basically proposed and used the example of the craft fair in the wintertime as an economic stimulus package for local people, low-income people, being able to employ homeless people, because a lot of vendors take homeless people.
They do that every winter.
Yeah. And so to expand that into half a farmer's market, maybe with performer arts on one part, and then the vendors closer to the university.
Well, the farmer's market, they're pretty happy with their location, I think, though.
Well, I mean, it could. We're just thinking about filling up the street, taking more of the cement out, and bringing the businesses out onto the sidewalk. So it's kind of like the Champs-Élysées. I don't know if you've been to Paris or France, where a lot of international cities have closed down main thoroughfares and brought businesses, cafes out onto the sidewalk. Mexico City, Montreal, all these major cities.
This seems to be the only country that doesn't have a sense of logic, because of course we want auto dominance, and we want the automobile and the oil industry to such a degree. We want their extensions to be so dynamic, and we want to have the the tentacles of the entire industrial complex to surround the world, so that we don't, when it comes down to it, I can't think of a single place. They'll build it, but it's the buildings will be this way, and they'll have a sidewalk through and do promenades, but they don't really do like walk through thoroughfares so much. You really seriously have to stop traffic and have and to.
But they don't want the anti-compartmentalism, anti-nuclear family, because if you're selling somebody CDs, let's take CDs for instance, you don't want the whole block to be sharing the music, because you could only sell one person one CD off that entire block. But if you get everybody in their own little apartments and they each have to buy that CD, then your market value goes up. So they absolutely want to have no community. They demonize tribalism, communism, socialism as a freak thing that is, but it's just sharing, and it's not beneficial to a profit margin and selling everybody everything. And that we even get into the secular behavior of going, I have more than you do, instead of saying, how can I help you come up to the level where I'm at? Maybe I could help burn some of my CDs in your CD player, and then you would have that music. We get into this whole confrontation and competition with each other, and it starts at a very early age. Here in America, I studied the behavior of the father wanting the child as a success story to make more money than the father.
Right.
That creates an automatic competition with your father, rather than a respect for whatever you do, whether you're an artist, whether you're a carpenter like my father was, or whether you're a high business, you have the Columbine syndrome.
It seems like we've been arguing politics all day, and just now we turned the videotape on, and I can't think of any questions or any new subjects. Can you think of anything we've been talking about today that maybe we can bring to light?
Sure. The whole, since we last spoke on these interviews, we've had this whole Oscar Grant amazing story come to fold. Let me just fill you in. The police officer who executed this young man on New Year's Eve was a white officer shooting a black youth, 22 years old, and basically the whole society tried to demonize a few, and I wouldn't say it was riots, I would say it was protesting that got up to, riot is, you see plumes of smoke, people are getting killed, that's a riot to me. What went on was more of a scuffle. The police shot me with a rubber bullet, but that was opportunity more than riot. They
were looking at you as a target.
Yeah, they were opportunists. The thing was amazing about it, and I spoke about it at the lake to the crowd yesterday, was that I can't remember the first time that a police officer shooting a colored person, young colored person, ever got arrested and was charged with murder. That was the first time. So I wanted to turn to the protesters and say, look, we were the ones that did that. Ron Dellums is going to run out there and try to say, oh, look at the arms of justice, they're working, and all this political bullshit. But it was the people on the streets that really turned the tide on. It took them 13 days to even react to publicly say that there was something very, very wrong with this incident. So it was miraculous that a white officer was arrested on murder charges. He got released yesterday on $3 million bail, which is $300,000. they had to put